Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. This is the weekend edition where we interview notable people from the world of real estate investing. Today is no exception. We have a great guest all the way from Austin, Texas. Welcome to the show, Colton Pace.
Thanks for having me, Victor. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here. I'm excited to have this conversation. We're going to talk about something that we've not really talked about on the show before. And gosh, close to 9 years here in this podcast. And I can't believe that we have not talked about this up until now. But maybe before we dive into the details, perhaps give a little bit of your backstory and how you got to this point in your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Colton Pace. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called OwnWell. Our marquee product is helping people reduce their property tax bills. My background started in the world of investing, and I've been a venture capitalist. I've worked for billionaires and helped them manage their family offices, and that's really where the company came from. We want to help people own their real estate well. It's in the name, and I've seen the tools, tips, tricks, resources, access that billionaires and their family offices have to real estate expertise. And so we founded OwnWell to try and bring those tips and tricks and access to everybody. Whether you own 5 properties or 100, we help consumers and people who own 1 or 2 homes to people who own a large portfolio of commercial properties reduce their property tax bill. And so we operate entirely on a contingency fee of, if we don't save you money, we'll never charge you anything. And you hire us as a tax consultant, we go out, try and reduce your property tax bills, which is usually a massive bill that we're not really trained to fight, in that it's from the government. But in reality, it's an opinion, and we can push back on most of those values and help get your tax bill reduced. And that's our bread and butter. And so today we operate across the country, across the United States, helping over 800,000 different property owners, and continue to try and spread the good word.
I love it. So let's talk about different types of properties, because I imagine the approach is different depending on the type of property that it is. Obviously, zoning comes into play, land use comes into play, improvements, the nature of the improvements. There's many, many different factors. And then, of course, there's special situations like tax abatements that come into play, that those too can be challenged if they are not calculated correctly. Why don't we start with the basic bread and butter? You've got a 100-unit apartment complex and you think your taxes are too high. What do you do?
Yeah. Everything in this business depends on geography. And that's why, most of the times people call in experts. The way it's done in Seattle is totally different than Miami, and it's totally different than Long Island, right? And so the valuation and backing into the assessor's model is really important. And in every geography, it's slightly different. Generalizing across most geographies, a 100-unit building is going to be valued on the income approach. What really matters is they're looking and assuming some vacancy level, assuming some expense level. We can go in with a stabilized approach or an actuals approach if your building's not that leased up, or you have lower than market rents, and we can go and argue for a reduction. We can also argue on the value of cost of replacement. We can also argue from an equity basis. Property taxes have to be fair. And so in certain jurisdictions, I can say, here's a different 100-unit building, similar geography or location, and here's the characteristics of that, and the assessment's way lower. I can use that argument too. And so in different geographies, you can use different arguments. And so we come in and use our extensive knowledge of over 1 million appeals filed at this point, of saying what wins in this geography. Let's figure out the best case for you, and then use that evidence and present it. But generally, for a simple property like that, it's an income approach, and we try and move the dials on the income model to get the right value or reduced value for you.
I love it. Now, there are certain jurisdictions that clearly have much higher taxes because guess what? They don't have maybe state income tax or things like that. So at the end of the day, the government needs to raise the revenue through some means. And if it's not coming in through income tax, then they've got to find other means like property tax. And I think of certain jurisdictions in Texas where you're based, where the taxes are 3 times, 4 times, 5 times what they are in other areas. Does that give you additional leverage or not?
Yeah, I think it's more worthwhile to go after high value properties in high tax geographies. And so our biggest geographies are Texas, Florida, California, Washington State, New York. All of those either have high taxes across the board or no income taxes, like you described. And so in geographies where you have high property values and high tax rates, we're going to save you more money. So you're going to care more. You don't want us to file your appeals in Wyoming. The rate's so low that you don't care about it, right? And so we're going to spend more time and more effort and take things to arbitration or litigation when we're talking about a 6-figure tax bill not a four-figure tax bill, right? And so we typically we provide more value in those geographies, and that's why we get more business there as well.
That makes a lot of sense. So if, I have some friends that own very large portfolios. They even dedicate in-house staff to this function. Now, there are certain windows during the calendar year that need to be respected in order to get an appeal in by a certain period of time, by a certain date on the calendar. Are these fairly uniform across the country, or do they tend to be all over the place?
Yeah, this is why it's important to have an expert, whether it's in-house or a consultant externally. Dates are totally wildly different by geography, even by county or by township in some geographies. And then there's the date you have to pay. There's sometimes dates, every 4 months or every three months that you have to pay by. And then there's a date you have to test by. And then once you've contested, there's deadlines for evidence you have to submit and getting the hearing done or filing arbitration or escalation beyond the initial appeal. And so there's tons of different deadlines. It's like a whole legal process for all different jurisdictions. And so we have a calendar, and for our large accounts, we have client success team members specifically assigned to make sure we're meeting all those deadlines and communicating that back to the big portfolio or asset manager. And so it's very hard to keep track. We do have a calendar we share widely that has most of the deadlines, but then you could get a supplemental assessment if you did construction that comes out of cycle, right? There's so many things to keep track of, and they're big bills. And so very complicated, very expensive problem that all real estate investors should really pay attention to.
Now, when I think about this, I mean, what I'm present to is across all the different jurisdictions, this is a large data problem. And big data is perfect for being accelerated through the use of AI tools. Are you making liberal use of that at this point?
Absolutely. Yeah. So AI helps us a ton on the expense side and just like opening up new markets. I would say that's one of the biggest things we've been able to do, as you alluded to, right? Like we go into every geography, we back test strategies, we make sure we're going to provide the best results, and we hire local tax consultants to make sure we have the best know-how. Because I don't want you to come and hire OwnWell and then we give you worse performance than if you hired someone locally. Yes, we are across the country, but we have local tax experts in every geography, and so there's a human element in the appeal process, but then there's also, it's all backed by data to make sure we're bringing in the right strategies and the right ways to win, and making sure our performance is better than anybody else you can hire. And then in addition to that, like keeping track of all this big data, all new tax assessments. The minute they come out, we want to know what they are, and we want to start building those cases so we have as much time. In certain geographies, you have 15 days to file an appeal from when the new value comes out, right? Like we have to be very much on top of it. And so using tons of AI to help reduce our costs on our side and help more and more people with the limited scale that we have as we continue to grow, and then enter new geographies. And so this year we've launched Colorado and Michigan and Pennsylvania, in that we've been able to go in, back test, find new strategies, and open new geographies for us to help more and more people.
Now, the tax code typically is linked to use. So, for example, if a property had a certain historic use and you can demonstrate that the use changed, or it could be classified perhaps arbitrarily one of three different ways, just that alone can make a difference, can it not?
Yes, usually they're going to try and value the property at the highest and best use. And so vacant land, they're going to think about if this was redeveloped or it could be redeveloped, right? They're going to make that argument and compare it to things like that. But you're absolutely right. There's certain areas like Houston where the use and codes are kind of all over the place. It's like that arguments can be used, and you can even do ratio studies of this property used as a childcare, even though it could be used for something else that's highest and best use. Its assessment relative to what its market value is, I can use on my childcare. And so it even goes further than like a typical commercial code, and to specific uses in some geographies. But yes, that is absolutely something you should take into account in, especially if you have a lot of vacant lots. Like we can make arguments, or there's a lot of good arguments arguing about what's next to it, right? Like, are there commercial lots next to your residential lots? Big arguments to be made there as well.
And obviously, this only comes with deep domain expertise and having done lots of it. It's like the neurosurgeon. You want the guy that does 3 a day, not the one that does 3 a year.
Yep, absolutely. And that's why, the more, if you look at our historical results internally, we look at, are we getting better every single year? And we save the same customers more money every year because we are getting better. And so the more appeals we do, the more we learn, the better the people get. And we continue to elevate what we can save our customers, which is, it's all kind of working in unison. And yeah, we have filed over over 1 million appeals in the 5 years that we've existed. And so we are the largest tax appeal firm in the United States by volume.
Love it. Well, Colton, if folks want to connect, if they want to learn more, what's the best way?
Yeah. If you're interested in the business, ownwell.com is the best place to learn more. There's a commercial section if you have a large portfolio. And if you're just trying to sign up your house, there's a sign up for consumers and homeowners as well. But happy to help. You can also reach out to us on any of our contact information is on there. If you want to connect with me personally, LinkedIn is the social media of choice for me. Colton Pace, I'm on there and happy to connect.
Fantastic. Well, Colton, great to connect. And for the listeners at home, you definitely want to reach out to Colton at ownwell.com. Links will be in the show notes as well as the link to his LinkedIn. And in the meantime, have an awesome rest of your weekend. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.